entrepreneurs and professionals of Tampa Bay. Welcome to your hour for getting the information, the tools, and the connections for elevating your business. Welcome to Getting the Edge with Kelly Wilson. And here's your host, Kelly Wilson.
Welcome to Getting the Edge. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm your host, Kelly Wilson. Again, happy you could be here with us. We are at the Genghis Khan restaurant, a great, delicious Mediterranean cuisine, 3114 West Beta Bay Boulevard. If you're in the area, stop by and tell them that Edge sent you. Really excited to be here with you every week, sharing stories. It's a great opportunity to bring in great business owners, leaders in the community. We want to talk about their products and services, but we really want to get to know them personally too, get to know their story. I'm a firm believer that we can learn so much from each other's journey if we share. And we all have our trials and tribulations and our challenges and our successes and our failures and everything that we go through as business owners, that if we share that, again, we can learn and hopefully inspire everyone then to know that no matter where you are today, you can just take a step. As Martin Luther King would say, you don't have to see the whole staircase. Just take the first step, believe in faith, and move forward. Getting the Edge is a product of Edge Business Magazine. Very excited about our latest issue, Edge Business Magazine. Great article on Dr. Louis Crespo. Great story. You see his commercials all over the Tampa Bay area, but what's his story? And that's kind of really what our angle is. So definitely go onto the website, subscribe to the magazine. You can get your own custom copy delivered right to your home or office, and you'll never miss an issue. Great stories. And also, you'll see, I'll keep you updated, and we'll take some pause breaks throughout the show, and I'll keep you up to date with some other opportunities within the community. But really excited about our show today. We've got a great one for you. Lauren Davenport. Davenport is, I am not good with last names lately. Lauren Davenport. I'm sorry?
No stress.
Oh, no. It's like Jamaica, right? No worries. Yes. No, because your name, I was just thinking, did your last name change for a while? It just stunned me for a minute.
So one of the things that most people don't know about me is my legal name is Lauren Fernandez.
Okay.
So I'm married to a very handsome Spanish gentleman, and took his last name about 5 years ago. But
okay.
I started my business with my maiden name, Davenport.
Well, and you and I have known you through the community for a long time, and you've always been Lauren Davenport. But as I just saw that, I thought, oh my goodness, I wondered if I just said her last name wrong. It wouldn't be the first time.
Davenport is what I go by on these kinds of things, so that's perfect.
Okay, great. Well, we want to get to know all about kind of what you've done with the Symphony Agency, because really you've gone through some great transitions, some great strides, you've hit some great milestones, and you've done a great job. So tell us briefly just about the Symphony Agency.
Sure. Thank you, Kelly. So the Symphony Agency is a marketing and advertising agency. We really specialize in digital marketing for service-based businesses. Most of the clients that we work with are in the healthcare realm, although we do have some really incredible national partners that we do focus on some other industries for, like air conditioning, attorneys, etc. But we've got a team of 20 some odd incredibly talented people here just across the bridge in St. Petersburg in our 7,000 square foot office.
Now, did you just moved offices, didn't you? I just saw, or you're moving.
Well, we moved. I personally moved. I sold my home.
Okay.
My whole world is currently changing right now. So if you've been seeing my social media, that's where you've seen all of that.
Gotcha.
But we moved into our office that is just right across from Jable on Roosevelt Boulevard in St. Pete. I guess it's been a little over 2 years ago now.
Okay. Wow, so you're in 7,000 square feet now.
Yes.
And so how many years since?
So I started the company when I was in college in 2009.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so just about 10 years now.
Almost 10 years. Yep.
So when did, as many of us, as we're growing our businesses, and it's interesting because I think we all look at business like we're supposed to have it all figured out from the beginning.
Oh, sure.
Right. And I mean, you think that, but then you look at other people and you think, oh my God, they have it together. Like if I could just be like that, and I think we all feel like we should have more of the answers or have it all figured out, but we don't. And I think it's okay that we don't.
I could not agree with you more.
Right. And as we as I talk with great people like yourself, I mean, we kind of figure out that it's really a lot of trial and error in the beginning. I mean, we have our goals of what we want to accomplish. That never changes. But our route, or, getting there, our path, it has to change. And I think being versatile or adaptable to change is really a great quality within an entrepreneur.
It's really the only way you're going to survive.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's interesting because through the years, one of your great staff members, Chris Jenkins, is a great tech writer for us. He has a great article. He's a little scary sometimes with it because he scares you on facts.
Sure.
And in fact, this issue is all about, I think, digital privacy and really what we've given up as a society in order with these social media platforms, and it's really scary. And so but sometimes he's like, it's like eye-opening, like awakening, like think about this and what you're doing. So he's kind of that writer for us, but he's been great. It's been a part, and so you're very fortunate, I think, to have him, and really some other great staff members as well. But a lot of great information. But okay, so I remember when he first started writing, we had an ad in the magazine for Symphony, and you were spelling it differently.
Yes.
So I'm just kind of pointing out some examples because over the years you've really tweaked of what you needed to do and what needed to be done and what's going to work and what's not going to work.
Sure.
So how did you identify that needed to be done, or what made you do that?
So when I first started the company, my father is actually a critical piece to. I had started I started completely on my own when I was in school. Right place, right time. You had to have a college email address to be on Facebook. And so I talked to a couple of little local businesses and letting me run what was their social network marketing back then. So about 2 years in, I was actually, it was a full-time job. And I went to my dad and I said, I've got this cool thing. I want to grow it. I can't be everything. I need to build an agency. But if I build it here in Nashville, which is where the twang is from.
Hence the twang.
Hence the twang.
It's cute.
If I build it here in Nashville, everybody will always just see me as the college kid. And I need to go somewhere else. And so I did some market research and looked for somewhere that had a minimum population of about 200,000 people and a higher ratio of locally owned businesses than the big corporations.
Really?
St. Petersburg, Tampa Bay hit the map. So me and my little puppy Bella moved down here not knowing anybody, and at that time our LLC was the Symphony, Symphoni Group LLC, and of course it was like back when the iPhone was cool and so is the iPad, and so we thought, well, since we're doing digital marketing, let's add the I onto it. But as the company grew and I came on awesome shows like this one,
thank you.
One of the things that would happen is that people would pronounce it Symphony. And oh my heavens, it was more than I could deal with. And so because of that, just for ease of brandability, and we preach this now with our own clients, having a name that is spelled phonetically correctly, especially in a day and age where search is not only typed but is also voice driven, is really, really important. So we decided we needed to take some of our own medicine and move over to the phonetically correct spelling of the word.
Well, and I think it's a great example of, just the trials and errors, and really, not necessarily having it all figured out initially. I mean, like I said, you've got the game plan, the destination never changes, but ultimately getting there does. So again, just a great example. So Nashville, I didn't realize that you were from Nashville.
Yes.
So, but that's a great, you kind of just strategized as far as trying to build out of that box that you felt you might be in, staying there. And then St. Pete, being
the sunniest city in the country.
Right. You got really lucky there.
Yes, I know.
And then so you started with how many employees then did you start with?
Just me.
That's amazing.
Just me, lone wolf. When I got down here, I had a couple interns. I had purchased a licensing for one of those local online newspapers that were really popular. It was in 2011 when I moved down here. And so had a couple of interns who were writing cool, fun stories for me on that. And we were selling, digital marketing services backed by it. So we let go of the licensing about a year in and just moved forward with building the agency.
So what does that mean with the licensing? You had contracts then with?
It was have you heard of Patch?
Yes.
It was very similar to Patch, but a local grown one from just outside of Nashville. It was called Hobnob.
Okay.
And so it was similar to that, but as the business grew, it just kind of became a side side piece, and I needed to focus my energies on building the agency.
So initially, as you're building the agency, did you have a specific industry that you wanted to focus on, or was it kind of more just generalized initially?
It was very generalized. I think with most businesses, when you're first getting started, and I would kind of consider myself an accidental entrepreneur because I never had a big kid job. Most people, when they start their own business, they've got years of experience from learning from other businesses about how to run a company, how to be a manager. Me, on the other hand, I just kind of accidentally fell into this thing that was really working.
That's kind of cool, though, to accidentally fall into.
Yes, 100%. Wouldn't trade it for the world, because some of the things that I was so naive about were some of my biggest strengths, because I didn't have the fears that a lot of people do with starting their own business. I didn't know better.
Right.
It really
it's
worked
good to be naive.
Yes, it really was.
Right.
So with, let's see. What was the first question that you asked me?
Well, we had talked about, if you were industry specific.
Yes. So when I got down here, I really was just talking to different businesses. When they had a problem, if it was something that I felt really sure that I could solve it, I would take it. And then as the company grew, you kind of get to know what you're best at. And that's how we just kind of niched into healthcare.
So let me kind of go back. We'll go back to healthcare in a minute. But so here you are now from Nashville. You come to St. Pete. You're going to start your own business. And ultimately, you don't know anyone. I mean, you don't know many people.
No one. Literally no one.
And then so you obviously have to then get clients, and you need to build revenue for your business.
Sure.
So where do you start?
So I pretty much just hit the streets. I joined every single networking group that I could find. I joined a BNI group, which was great for me, especially in the beginning, because it taught me kind of the ins and outs of best practices of networking. I went to the ESC, the Entrepreneur Social Club at Nova 535, which is actually how I met Chris Jenkins. So literally, I just looked for every possible opportunity that I could find to get out and meet new people. And even though it was really scary at first, I just started doing it.
Yeah, well, you have the personality for it. I don't think anybody, you just make it really easy to get to know you.
Well, I appreciate that.
No, absolutely. So really, it was a lot of networking then initially, and just meeting people. And so when do you think, like, as far as when you did that with building it, how long until you really saw some of the initial results that you wanted?
Sure. So I've never really been a salesperson. Like I mentioned, I didn't have a real big kid job before this. If I had a resume, bartender at the Blue Rooster would be the last thing on it. So from a standpoint, but I had to learn how to sell quickly, because if you're not selling your business isn't growing. So that was one of the first things that I really started kind of playing with, and I realized that I just wasn't all that good at it. I was great at solving problems, but not really sales, because I'm just not that personality type. So instead, I started working on building partnerships with people who knew the clients, who had the problems I knew how to solve, and that they could bring the clients to us. And that's really where the magic has been for our agency.
Right. Wow. Okay. Well, we're going to talk all about that and partnerships. So don't go away. We'll be right back. More with Getting the Edge.
Hi, I'm Jerry from Hot Locks Hair Salon. We are conveniently located at 13414 US Highway 19 in Hudson. I've been a local hairstylist in our community for the last 34 years, 7 of which I was an educator. Our passion is the artistry of hair, and Hot Locks is here to help you achieve your perfect image. You can call us at 727-514-9978.
Welcome back to Getting the Edge. Thank you so much for being with us today. I'm your host, Kelly Wilson. Getting the Edge is a great opportunity, again, to get to know great people in the community. We want to find out all about your products and services, but we really want to share your story and what you've learned, and just so that we all experience some tremendous growth. And I'm very excited about our show today. If you've missed any part of it, make sure you hit rewind and check it out. Lauren Davenport from the Symphony Agency has been talking with us just about how you got started in the community, and 10 years now really into her business, again with the Symphony Agency. How can people look up, what is your website where people can go and find out some more
information? To check out more about us, our agency can be found at Symphony, SYMPHONY, agency.com. We do a whole lot of social media, especially since that's where our company really started. So check us out on Facebook. We're really fun there.
Yeah, definitely. And you got a lot of great pictures, and you guys are really good. Well, they're really good at their social media. So I guess
Thank you.
Hence why they're in the marketing industry and digital marketing. Yeah, but it is great. So before we took a break, we talked about really, Lauren was saying how you moved here from Nashville. You got started and really just decided to move to St. Pete and start this business. And you kind of had already started the business, but really you wanted to transition and really grow it. And so you started networking and getting involved with as many networking opportunities as you can and meeting as many people. And then you mentioned partnerships. And it's funny, now I would think you'd be great with sales just because you seem so genuine and your personality, is inviting. So, but you thought no, but you were great with partnerships.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about the partnership magic and how that kind of worked.
Sure. Well,
with your business.
I get along with almost everybody. So it's not that I'm really bad at sales, but what will happen with like a good salesperson is great at knowing and understanding the product and not creating new products. For me, it's all about solving a problem. So I can create 100 new products.
Gotcha.
And that's not particularly good for your business as a whole. So what I decided to do, like I mentioned, is finding people who I could partner with who had the clients who needed the products that we had created. And the very first really successful partnership that we had was with the Carrier Corporation, the national HVAC air conditioning company.
Okay.
And so we landed a partnership with their Florida-based markets, and they made us one of their premier vendors. So there were only a handful, there still are only a handful of us across the state of Florida. And so they would bring us to the dealers who needed help with digital marketing. We had specific products that were built for them. And all of a sudden we grew from having, a small agency to a medium-sized agency in almost overnight.
Right, just from that one client, really.
Just from that one client. We went from a client base of maybe 10, 12 clients to probably 30 in less than a 3-month time span.
So how many years had you had the business before you had that opportunity with that client?
So I moved down here to St. Pete, Tampa Bay in 2011. It took me about 2 years to really get my feet underneath me and start bringing on team members, because you can't really handle a partnership like that without a team of people. So it was probably 3.5 years into getting down here.
Now, how did you identify that would be a good partner for your business?
Well, we had worked with some HVAC clients before, and they had radical results.
Okay.
And that's kind of how we landed the partnership. A dealer who was local to the Tampa Bay area told the Carrier team about us and how successful it had been. They had seen, revenue double over a 12-month span since adding us on to do their digital. And because of that introduction, that's what built the partnership.
Wow. So then, because really it was all about new business then for them. That's exciting. And so that's kind of great, I think, incentives too, or, we talk about the show being inspiring. I mean, it gives you a thought process too, that really one client can make the difference and really change and continue, or it could be multiple clients, that really then take you from a small business then to medium and then growth. And then, we talk a lot on the show about opportunities, whether you're going to, how big do you want to be?
Oh, sure.
Do you, and what are your plans with that? Do you plan to continue growing? Would you like to kind of keep you at one size? Or?
That's a good question. I'm always happy to grow when revenue accompanies that and profit margins accompany that. So that's probably one of the biggest things that we learned during our first quick growth spurt with the Carrier Crew. It was awesome that we were able to bring on that many clients that quickly, but we didn't have the measurement in place to be able to determine how many team members we needed to have to actually do the work. We just thought, hooray, look at all this money.
Right.
We got to bring in more people to be able to, actually do the product. And we ended up over hiring. And it really cut our profit margins. And one of the things that's really important to me as a business owner is that we are building new jobs. That it's very typical in the agency world for it to be the kind of industry where your team is expecting to get cut. Because when you lose a big client, you cut, 10% of your staff. So it was really important to me that we didn't have that reputation. So instead of cutting the team, we figured out how to cut expenses, and we figured out how to cut other places so that we could, get back to a growth mode in a place that was really healthy for the company. But it was a huge learning lesson.
So how do you, when you're trying to gauge how much your time is worth and how much all of the staff members, how do you gauge exactly what to charge a client?
Sure.
And how do you determine how much time is going to be needed per each client? I guess it would depend on expectations and their goals.
It does. It really does. But more than that, it's based off of experience. When we sit down and we have a meeting with a client, we've gotten to the point now that we've had multiple years in business. One of the things that we do, just like an attorney would, is track all of our hours.
Right.
So tracking all of those hours to see how much time, is average for a different type of product, and kind of monitoring that on a regular basis is how we can create, accurate estimates. But like you said, it does kind of depend on the client and what their needs and goals are.
Because a lot of these relationships, you're setting expectations, right? And they're long term. Ultimately, I would think probably a year, like agreements, right? Between, or does that?
Yeah, we don't have a lot of turnover with our client base, so.
And that's the idea. You don't want them to go anywhere.
Right. So from a standpoint, most of the clients that we work with, we've worked with them for, anywhere from 3 to 5 years at this point.
So what advice can you share with us on building a team? I think you've done a great job with identifying those great people to bring in. You obviously want to keep them too, because when needed, you're evaluating ways to keep them.
Yeah.
So what advice might you be able to share with the viewers on building a great team?
I think building a great team really first starts with knowing what's important to you as a business owner and what the culture is going to be. Because to create a great team in this day and age, it's more than great benefits. It's more than great perks. People don't leave companies for, the lack of benefits. They leave the company due to a crappy manager.
Right.
So figuring out who you are and what your personality traits as your business are, and then finding team members who share those same values, share similar personality traits, really is what has made the difference in building our team.
Yeah, well, again, I think you've done a great job with those that you have chosen, and obviously you've been very strategic on that. And when you look at identifying, I was just going to ask you another thought too, and I can't remember on that one. But when you're okay, so then you kind of molded into the healthcare piece of it. How did you identify that healthcare was where kind of the niche that you wanted to have within the organization?
Well, my father, who I mentioned, was one of the key people in actually helping me move the business here and really getting started, because one of the things that most entrepreneurs struggle with is you either tend to be great at sales and marketing or you're great at operations, and finding a balance between those is very difficult. My dad was the balance of the operations. He's a CFP and
it's so important to have that balance.
An operational genius, and then I tended to be stronger on the sales and marketing side, so he backed me on the ops while I was just out trying to build the business. And his background is specifically in healthcare. He started with a a startup that actually grew called HealthLink. They ended up selling out to IBM. Huge success there. And then also he helped write some of the first HIPAA regulations.
Oh my goodness.
So he has a lot of healthcare background. My husband also joined our team about 3 years after I met him. And when I met him, he was actually the director of radiology. So again, huge healthcare experience. He had been the director of marketing for Florida hospitals. So a lot of healthcare there. And then also Chris, his first technology projects were in the healthcare market as well.
Oh, okay.
So all of our leadership team has a lot of experience there. And really for me, my expertise is on the branding side when I'm helping clients. And my favorite are always the healthcare clients where we're crafting these cool, interesting stories about how they're changing people's lives. And so the combination of all of our experience there and passion for that industry is really why we started niching in that direction.
And really just being, you know, obviously I think it's very important that we realize that we need to, that's like with Edge, we're kind of focused on small businesses. I mean, we could be focused on every business, or we could do lifestyle, but I mean, it's really important to have your niche. I think that was a lesson, took me a while to learn. Even in real estate, when I sold real estate forever, people said you should pick a territory kind of that you wanted to do. I'm not going to do that because then I couldn't sell homes, you know, over here. I couldn't do that. But I was really successful, but I probably could have been even more had I niched it. And just because you do niche and you have healthcare doesn't mean you can't do other things.
That's right. So one of the things,
long story short, that's right.
Well, one of the things that I tell clients all the time, we do these really cool brand and vision workshops. And one of the first, everybody's always hesitant when you use the word niche. They're like, that's going to like ruin my life. That can't be a good thing. But I use the example of a dartboard. So I'm not very good at darts. Are you good at darts?
Not so much.
Okay.
No.
Well, I don't know about you, but my goal with playing darts is always that I just hit the middle target. Because if I hit the middle target, it means that I'll eventually hit the other points that I'm supposed to hit, right?
Are you supposed to hit the other ones? I thought it was all about the middle target.
I mean, kind of. You got to do that to end the game. But, you know, so from a standpoint of niching, it's pretty much the exact same thing. When you know exactly who your bullseye is and you're aiming directly at that with your messaging and marketing, it's very clear to the people who you're supposed to connect with who they are.
That's a great
then
analogy.
On the backside, you know, you will hit those outliers. Maybe if your industry is healthcare, you know, you're targeting we target private practices, but we also end up with home healthcare clients and, you know, other clients that wouldn't necessarily be perfect in our ideal market, but because we're speaking to someone specific, it connects with them as well.
That makes a lot of sense. That's a great analogy. And that's actually I'm going to have to like remember that as I'm trying to explain
it. You can steal it.
I'm going to steal it.
Totally
I'll
fine.
take that. No, it is. It's in it because people are hesitant to kind of go after one particular type of the industry. They think they're going to miss out on others. And I think that's just a great way to look at it. You're not going to miss out on them. They're still going to be there for you. Yep. All right. Well, I'm going to pick your brain a lot more. And we're going to get to know you a little bit more and find out more about Nashville and your upbringing and how you kind of fell into entrepreneurship. But anyway, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with Getting the Edge. And in the meantime, you can maybe check out the website, edgebusinessmagazine.com. But we'll be right back. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Jerry from Hot Locks Hair Salon. We are conveniently located at 13414 US Highway 19 in Hudson. I've been a local hairstylist in our community for the last 34 years, 7 of which I was an educator. Our passion is the artistry of hair, and Hot Locks is here to help you achieve your perfect image. You can call us at 727-514-9978.
Welcome back to Getting the Edge. Thank you so much for being with us today. I'm your host, Kelly Wilson. I am founder and CEO of Edge Business Magazine. Getting the Edge is one of the great products of Edge Business Magazine, and really everything that we do is all about identifying and building a brand and influence in the community. Getting the Edge is a great opportunity to share stories. And really, we hear about Laura and Davenport, we hear about all these great business owners, and we see you on social media sometimes, but we really don't know what makes you tick. We don't know what you've been through. We don't know your story, and that's really Getting the Edge is a great opportunity to do that. Before we get started, I will add that we are looking for great businesses to advertise. I know you've seen the commercials throughout our breaks. We'd love to feature your business there. So reach out to us at info@edgebusinessmagazine.com, and we'd be happy to provide additional opportunity details about that. So I always joke, if you've missed any part of the show, go back and hit rewind. I don't even know if we have rewind buttons anymore. I don't know how easy that is
you
anymore.
can still call it that.
Right? Okay. Well, yeah, it kind of ages me maybe. What else would you call it, right? It's rewind. You go back.
It's rewind,
Go
yeah.
back. Okay. We'll
The
go
back
back.
button?
But
Yeah.
yeah, hit the back button. And make sure you check out the beginning of the show. Great advice really on building a business, starting it, coming from, not really knowing anyone, and then what really it takes if you want to succeed, and really hitting the ground running with it. So again, great advice. We talked a little bit too about finding your niche and really what's going to stand you out and what you want to focus on. And just because you do that doesn't mean that you're eliminating or alienating, I guess, other business. That business is potentially still there as well. Okay, so just a lot of great things going on with you. You are such an interesting person. So that's again one of the reasons I love to be here and really share some of these stories. So first of all, I must say, like through social media and some of the things, you and your husband are so adorable together.
Thank you.
And you got married like underwater or something.
Pretty much, yes.
Like, okay. I don't, okay, so how can people find that information on
You can follow me on Facebook.
Okay.
That's probably the easiest way to
really
see
like
my crazy life.
Yes, it's so interesting. Very clever, and so memorable, I would assume. Like
Thank
your
you.
husband's just a real trooper, I would think, right?
He's so intense. Yes, he's wonderful.
He'd have to be kind
He's
of
adventurous. I think that's probably the thing that makes us work so well, when you can find someone who's just as crazy as you are.
Right.
It really works.
And I think it's great. You mentioned before we took a break earlier that now he's working with you. You two
Yeah.
work at the agency together.
Yep.
Like, okay, so what is the secret to that? To keeping a happy, I would think that'd be tough. You look at a lot of couples that work together and they live together and they're married, and
Yeah.
it's great. You guys are flourishing with it.
We really do. I think part of it, like I said, is we have very similar personality types, but we're really good at knowing what the other one's better at.
Right.
So we balance each other really well. We also just make sure that the communication is really open.
Right.
Technically,
extremely
he
important.
reports to me,
Right.
which I love to rub in. But from a standpoint, I just set structures around, he's one of the team members who report to me, and so he knows that the same things that I'm holding him accountable for, I'm holding our other leadership team members accountable for, and it's not personal. It's just about making sure that the company succeeds.
Absolutely, and you both, I'm sure, and the whole team. You have the best interest of the company at heart, right? So that's going to be applied, I would think, just to make sure. So that's great, and you're very lucky, I think, with that, just to have that, and to be able to have the communication's key. And I think as long as you guys can keep that open, you're good. So you are all about stepping outside of your comfort zone.
Yes.
You are, and really, she's not just like you've decided to just make some really difficult,
Radical?
radical, is that the word I'm looking for?
Maybe.
Intense, maybe, I don't know. So you've sold your home.
Yes.
You are now living out of Airbnbs and hotels. And Bella even, right? I have a Bella too. It's kind of sweet, but she's a crazy cat.
Okay.
But definitely still have a Bella. They're precious. Okay, so what made you want to do this?
So I mentioned earlier that when I started my business, I literally moved here without knowing anybody. And that was hands down the best decision that I ever made, because it pushed me in so many different ways. And so now that's one of the things that I talk about. Anytime that you're too comfortable, it's going to be a time where you're not growing as quickly as you could be.
That's true.
And so because of that,
that's a good way to look at things too.
It's so true.
Right.
And
So sometimes not being comfortable is a good thing because you're continuously growing.
Not being comfortable is the best thing.
Right.
And so my husband and I decided that we felt like we had gotten to a point in the business and in our personal lives that we were getting really comfortable. And we think that that's kind of like one of the biggest dangers that any entrepreneur faces. And so we decided that it was time to mix some things up. And
definitely doing that.
That we decided to do. So we put our house on the market, sold it, and now we are moving around Tampa Bay, and really the goal is the world. Just getting to know how to travel and being more minimalistic, because that's kind of like a big thing for me too.
So is everything in storage?
No.
You sold everything?
We sold everything.
Oh my goodness.
We literally have a medium-sized suitcase and a small carry-on suitcase, and we are living out of it. And it's really quite amazing. From a standpoint of just feeling like weight is lifted off.
I can imagine.
It's really, really cool. And you figure out that you want to like throw away more stuff when you throw away all of your stuff or sell it or whatever. We did a lot of different things with it.
Well, yeah, and wow, okay, so I just assumed you had everything in storage.
Nope.
So at any moment you could change your mind and say, okay, well, let's find a home. Let's settle.
No, we are all in.
So how length, like what is the length? What is the time frame for this?
That's a good question. So we set a time frame of a minimum of 6 months. Like I mentioned a little bit ago with you before we were on air, our goal in the long term, one of the things that we want to be able to do is do international travel on a longer scale term. So we typically every year will take 30 days or so off. We think it's one of the most valuable things that we can do for the business, and we'll go travel somewhere because it shows us where the holes in the processes are and the things that we need to put in place for it to run without us.
That's great. Yeah.
So we want to do more of that, and we want to have more extended travel time. So we figured that this is a really good way to not only kick ourselves out of the box and fully commit to it, but also in a safe environment find out, what are the things that we need to learn in order to actually be able to do long-term travel.
Well, and what do you want? I guess, that would take, you're going to learn that because, living in these different places and experiencing these different experiences, you're going to learn what you do want, what you don't want, where you want to be, where you don't want to be. And it's really going to gauge you instead of being comfortable in a space. That's actually I don't know that I could personally would have the nerve to do it. Or it's not nerve. I don't know. I mean, I'm a little older too. Maybe I don't know.
No, you could do it. Anybody can do it. You just have to decide what you want. I think probably one of the neatest things, because we've been doing this now for about 30 days. I guess we're maybe a couple weeks past that now.
So you're just past the first month.
Just past the first month. And we had like all of these great intentions. Like we had this box that we got from the Container Store, and we were like, we'll both only put 3 things in there that we think we just can't live without, and we'll travel with them in our Airbnbs and hotels and stuff. We've already gotten rid of those things.
Oh,
they
really?
were like, I love my alarm clock that opens up or that does like the sunshine effect in the morning. We don't keep those anymore. Our Google Homes, we thought that, we just can't live without those. Those are a really big pain in the butt to try to connect to Wi-Fi at each different random place. So it's been really, really enlightening how little you actually need.
Right. So how long are you staying in one place at one time?
Just kind of depends.
Okay. So maybe like 30 days at the most?
Max.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I guess with hotels and Airbnb, is there a certain minimum or maximum that you can stay? No. So you can pretty much just determine as you go. Now, are you only staying in the St. Pete area, or are you kind of moving around the Tampa Bay region?
We're moving all over the Tampa Bay region. We've got quite a bit of travel this year booked already. We've got friends getting married in Mexico, so we're going there in March. We're going to Bolivia because I'm really excited about seeing the salt flats this year. A lot of travel with work due to just working with companies all over the country. So, and also my husband is a very avid runner. So.
And you are as well, aren't you involved in?
He's avid. I'm a cheerleader. I run so that it's like fun for the two of us, but he's like talented. I wouldn't say I'm a talented runner.
Yeah. But you're striving maybe towards that or getting more involved, right?
Yeah.
She's open to anything. I love it. So, okay. Is your father involved in the business on an everyday basis? He is. So that is too one of the reasons you can step back some. Because I was trust is such a big thing with business owners. And even though we build a great team, and you definitely have done that, you still have to have that, you know, being able to go away for 30 days or being able to take the time off. You have to have some base, I think, there.
Sure.
Right? So your father allows you to be able to do that.
Yeah, my dad does. Chris Jenkins, he's a huge base. We try to toggle and let him take time off and us take time off. But then really even our mid-level management team, they are so incredibly talented, and most of them have been with us 3-5 years. So even though the company is still relatively young, our team has stayed with us for a long time. So I trust them with my life. So that makes it possible.
Well, and it says a lot. So, and obviously that just goes back to show how important all the processes and systems are and the actual foundation. And then so they're able to go out then and build new business and look for new business and then really take care of those clients. It's interesting. Delegation, I guess that's my like check mark for the year. I don't know. Although I feel like I need to be more I don't know about selling the house or anything. No, I'm kidding. But no, I mean, delegation, if I could just handle that this year, I'd probably be happy. But, it's hard. Trust is a big thing. And we've worked so hard to build things. Some about going back to the naive piece of it, too. Sometimes it does help to kind of be naive and not really know. And because as we go through more experiences, it makes us harder, too. But it kind of we need to be more childlike and kind of just go back to kind of, and always have, I see the best in everybody, too.
Yeah.
But wow. Okay, so what's next, for you in?
What's next? Well, we are growing very quickly. We landed another really big partnership that took us national on a whole nother scale, with having our own sales team that's out there pushing our products. So that's pretty much what I'm working on right now, is scaling the company for that partnership. We've got a bunch of new team members who are joining, so we're training and we're bringing on new clients and realizing again how many holes you have in the process when you have to try to scale like that. So that's pretty much what I'm doing when I'm not bouncing from Airbnb to hotel.
I think you are a great example, and she needs to be, I think, to so many business owners out there, to really, you've implemented balance so well in your life along with the business. And I think so many of us wait until later in life to be able to take the vacations or do a lot of things, and you are kind of just implementing all that right now. So, well, we're going to talk a little bit more about that. I want to get to know a little bit more about you as well. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with Getting the Edge. Welcome back to Getting the Edge. I'm your host, Kelly Wilson. Again, thanks so much for being with us today. If I haven't said it enough, I'm going to say it again. Make sure you check out edgebusinessmagazine.com. Don't miss the latest issue and all the future ones that we have coming up. Make sure you subscribe today at edgebusinessmagazine.com. Getting the Edge, we just have a great time here with great business leaders like yourself, Lauren. Thank you so much for being here. Lauren is the CEO of the Symphony Agency, based headquartered in the St. Pete area. What an inspiration you are. It's, we've met and known each other for quite a few years now, but it's really great to really get to know you a little bit better. And again, which is one of the reasons behind the show. I can watch through social media and kind of see what you've got going on, but not to the extent. And I hope that you're an inspiration to a lot of people out there. And maybe, let it be it's an idea to kind of keep in mind too, that as business owners, we are very, very involved in our day-to-day businesses. And a lot of the times, and I'm speaking from the heart here, a lot of times we are so wrapped up in our business and in our day-to-day that life is short. A lot of times we're not really, and I mentioned delegation. That is one of the things I'm working towards this year. And balance. I need balance, and that's one of my other goals this year. But
we all do.
You're a perfect example of, you're trying to instill that, and because we don't know life. Tomorrow's not guaranteed, right?
Yeah.
So definitely take advantage of every moment, and it's never too late. I always say that until it is. So really just live life to the fullest. And I think we do as business owners, but you're just a great reminder. There's so much more out there too beyond the business. Yeah. And I think it's to everybody's advantage for us to have that kind of instilled within us, because happy business owners make for a happy team, right?
Yeah, and not only that, but if you're not figuring out, your business can only push you so far.
Right.
And your business will only grow as fast as you grow.
Right.
And so there's a lot to learn in business. You're never going to learn everything or know everything, but it's a lot easier to learn different things that will help you grow your business in unexpected areas.
Right.
So it's important that you have hobbies and that you're doing things outside of just the business that will help expand you and grow.
Absolutely. No, great advice. Great advice all throughout. We talked a little bit about just finding that niche and really, and then being adaptable to change and how important that is. So again, I've probably said this 3 or 4 times, you've done a great job with building your team. What tips can you share with us on identifying those great team members for our businesses?
I think the first thing doesn't start with the actual team member themselves. I think the very first thing requires that you have a really, really clear understanding of what you need. Because that's one of the things that I learned really early in our business, in that first growth spurt I mentioned with the carrier team, was we thought that we needed specific things in the team members that we hired, and we found out later that we had just done it all wrong. So don't skip, especially as a small business, it's easy to skip the dreaded HR pieces. They're boring, they're not fun, they're operational. Writing a job description seems like minutia that you shouldn't have to deal with.
Right.
But it really isn't true. Making sure that you're setting up the expectations for the new team member, that you really know what you need as a business owner and you're not quick to hire, but that you spend the time really getting to know what the need is probably the very first critical piece of building a great team.
Right. No, I think that's great advice. It's funny, I ask, what might people be surprised to know about you? But oh my goodness, I think we've shared a lot about that today. But anything else we've missed?
I think we've established that I'm a pretty adventurous person. Some of the things that I've done recently that are, well, maybe not even really recently, I jumped out of an airplane. I really enjoy skydiving. I think that's really fun. Other adventurous things, I just recently went on a helicopter ride. One of my goals for the next 12 to 24 months is to start working on my pilot's license. I want to be able to fly an airplane. But I really just love anything and everything that will push you to grow in different ways than you expect.
I think once you start kind of conquering some fears, that adrenaline rush that you feel when you kind of overcome something that you're frightened of or that frightens
it's addictive.
you. It actually is.
Yeah.
What is best advice you've ever been given? Has somebody said anything to you that really stuck?
best advice I've ever been given, probably find a niche and fill it. One of the things that my dad actually taught me very, very young, I think I was like maybe 12. I've always loved clothes, and shoes are like a personal passion for me, which is really difficult with the amount of luggage that I currently and things I own.
I can imagine being in Airbnbs and
yes,
hotels.
I don't have as many shoes as I used to.
Now, did you have to get rid of some of that? Did you part with? Okay, wow, that shows commitment.
It's a real commitment. But when I was about 12 years old, my parents, I grew up in a well-off family, middle class, southern home. If you've seen the Beaver Cleaver movie, like that is like how I grew up. But my parents didn't just give me anything and everything I wanted, so we had like a set allowance, and I wanted more shoes than my allowance would give. So my dad told me, find a niche and fill it, to a 12-year-old. And of course I'm like, I don't know what that is. What does that mean? And he told me, he was like, find a problem that you can solve that other people don't want to solve. And so I started looking around as my 12-year-old self and realized how much my mother hated to iron. And so I talked her into giving me a quarter for every piece of clothing that I ironed, and she started telling her friends, and so then before you knew it, I was ironing their clothes for a quarter too, and that was my first experience of find a niche and fill it. So something that I learned very, very young, how critical it is to find a problem to solve if you want to.
That's a great example.
Expand.
Well, and it's a great example. Instead of us just providing to our children with everything, you know, really saying, okay, well, you know, I'll give you this, and if you do this, you know.
Yeah.
Great advice. What has there been a lesson that that's been like the toughest to learn?
Oh, because I grew up in the South, I think I definitely started this journey with the expectation that everyone would always have the best intentions at heart.
Right.
And I think it's really important in life to keep that mindset while also not being naive.
Right.
That's probably one of the hardest lessons that entrepreneurship has taught me, that you really do have to, in some situations, be guarded. Have contracts. Set clear expectations. Don't assume that, you know, the best is to come. Trust your gut.
Assumptions are it can be a very bad thing, right? And we want to, you know, I think that goes back to some of the conversation we've had earlier where, you know, the trust and being able to delegate, because you want, and that's where some of the being naive is great, but right, you got to protect yourself as well. So
watch for red flags.
Assume, right? Are there any resources that you enjoy reading or referencing that help you grow as a leader?
Absolutely. So I'm an Audible addict.
Okay.
I absolutely love Audible, not just for business books, but also for fiction reading. One of the things that I've been loving lately is actually on Audible. Reese Witherspoon has a list of her favorite books, and she's like doing this fun little book club. And each of the books that she's released and that I've read are definitely things that help push your boundaries from a standpoint of like social acceptance. And so I've really, really enjoyed that a lot recently, from a standpoint of random learning that you wouldn't necessarily expect. Other resources that I use on a regular basis, gosh, we use Lynda. Have you heard of lynda.com?
I have not.
Lynda.com is a really cool tool that actually LinkedIn purchased.
Oh, really?
Relatively recently, but it's like the end-all be-all of videos on anything and everything that you could possibly ever want to learn, which is a really cool tool. So I use that sometimes. One of the things that we laugh about at my office is that nobody is born with good management skills. You're born with a belly button, but you're not born with good management skills. So when I'm looking to like try to expand that or like look into ways to handle certain management situations that I may not have encountered before, Lynda is one of the places that I'll actually go and look and find really good content. Yeah.
So it's Lynda.
Lynda, Lynda.
Okay. Well,
I think it's a paid subscription, but it's really cheap.
Yeah, I'll have to like look into that. It's interesting. Yeah. So how different is that from like YouTube or something where you can?
So I think the thing that makes Lynda more credible is the teachers who are like doing the classes. Like they're professors that you would see at like well-known universities. So they just have more credentials to know kind of like what you're talking about.
Okay, so more of like a mentor kind of site where it's mentors on all different types of topics. Okay, I'm surprised I haven't heard of it. I'll have to I'll have to check it out. Do you have a favorite quote?
Ooh. You know, when I was 16 years old, I lost my best friend in a car accident.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And that's one of the things that I would consider is part of what taught me that life is so short. And she has this quote that she published in a journal or something that her parents found afterwards, and it says, "I want to live with my eyes wide open. Keep the hope, keep the faith, keep the fire." And that's something that I think about a lot. It's not somebody who's famous, it's somebody who's special to me.
Absolutely.
But that energy that she had, it was really, really special. And so that's one of my
very
favorite
meaningful,
things. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And the fact that you're still here and able to kind of help her live on,
Sure.
you know, with sharing that. That's great. Wow, that's touching. You know, is there anything else that really stands out? Again, you've done such a great job with building a great team and really hitting the ground running and just implementing great. I think you're a great influence on other people
you.
and very inspirational. You know, we talked about tips for others starting out and tips for growth. You know, do you have an exit strategy, or you know, I kind of asked you earlier what was next.
Sure.
But okay, so where do you see Lauren? You know, in even 10 to 15 years?
Oh gosh, that's a really long time. I like to think in 5-year increments, because if I looked back 5 years and told you that I would be sitting right here, I probably would have laughed at you. So from a standpoint of the next 5 years, my biggest goal is to ensure that my company can run itself, because that's going to be where we're making the biggest impact.
Right.
And so that's one of the big things that I'm really focused on. Like I said, one of the reasons that we're doing this whole nomadic lifestyle is because we do want to do some long-term travel. So I want to see the world. So those are some of the things. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think you have a lot of great things to look forward to, and I have enjoyed getting to know you better, and I'm sure everyone watching has enjoyed your story as well. So tell us again, how can people find you online at symphonyagency.com?
Yes, symphonyagency.com, and we're even more fun on Facebook. So check us out there too.
Definitely. Now, do you do some of the other platforms as well, the Instagram and?
I'm so bad at them.
Okay. Well, one of the questions, and we're going to run out of time, but is trying to determine which platforms to be on and to be
Sure.
relevant on, and so we'll have
Depends who you're trying to connect with at the end of the day.
Okay.
I started my business, or our company really, with social media. So I do love the social platforms, but if they all died tomorrow, I probably wouldn't be that sad.
Right. Good advice.
But I would say that the number one thing with social is authenticity,
Yeah.
no matter what platform it is.
That's great advice to end with. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. For more information on the Symphony Agency, check them out online or on their Facebook page. And check out edgebusinessmagazine.com. Make sure you subscribe to the latest issue of Edge. And we'll see you next week with Getting the Edge. Thanks for being with us.